Hey everyone, this is Megan. I read 5 books in August, and I'm going to do a little review and deep dive of what I read, and then I will tell you guys what I'm going to read next month. First was Crescent City 1, House of Earth and Blood. So I read this probably, I don't know, like a couple years ago, way before I started reviewing books, and I loved it. I've read it, I think, 3 times now. I read this with my other book club. Um, because they had never read it, and they read ACOTAR and Throne of Glass, so I figured I'd have them read this one. I give this one a 5 out of 5 every time. It's such a good book. It just has such grounded characters. It has a plot that just keeps going and going and going, and then an ending that just will throw you for a loop every time. I give it a 1 out of 5 on a spice meter just because nothing really happens in this book. Nothing really happens until the next couple books, I would say, and I feel like this is another example of like a fantasy book that is not really, doesn't really have much spice. It has romance, but it doesn't have any smut scenes. It's more of a fantasy book over a romance book. This one's just such a wild ride for me every single time. From chapter 75 on, I'm always so invested. I always cry at the end. It's just, Bryce is one of the best female main characters I've ever read. There's so many other honorable mentions, of course, but Sarah J. Maas just writes her so well. I feel like everybody can relate to her in a way, and I love her. She's great. I also like in this book that she introduces so many characters. I know a lot of people don't like that this one and the next 2 are so long. I think they're each like 800 something pages. I know my husband didn't care for the fact that they were longer, but I don't mind it. I liked the slow burn of the world building in the beginning, even though I had no idea what was going on. I liked that she kind of like explained everything for you, but then also when you're still going through it, she's still explaining other things, so you're still learning as you go along. And these are my tabs, because I didn't mark it the first time. But I also love the Easter eggs she throws in here for future use. That I'm like, when I read the first time, I was like, oh, that sounds familiar, but maybe not. And then reading it again, I was like, oh my god, that's totally familiar. Like, that's crazy she threw that in there. She just has a really great way of just connecting her books. Like, she really does. Like, I know a lot of people hate that she is repetitive, like when she says like turns to like and whatever, and the emptying her bowels situation, whatever. I don't care. I think everybody just gets a little butthurt that she repeats herself. Like, other authors don't repeat themselves. I know Colleen Hoover does, and Anna Huang repeats herself several times. So, I don't care. I love these books. I love all the characters. Obviously, the ones that are likable, I love all of them. I can't say that I hate any of them. And she has a really great way of writing villains. Like, you hate these villains so much that you feel so personally attacked, and you want to just, like, defend Bryce and Hunt to the core because they're so awful. And she just, those last 100 pages, man, she has a crazy way of writing them that just keeps you on your toes and in your seat. So I would always recommend this book if you're reading the Sarah J. Maas Maasaverse. I recommend doing ACOTAR first, and then Throne of Glass, and then Crescent City, which is how I'm having my other book club do it. Just makes more sense that way. But yeah, I would always recommend it. So next is Pucking Wild by Emily Rath. So I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 for general, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 for spice. And I know that rating seems like a little off, but it's weird because I think the spice was there. I think there was a lot of it. I think it was very non-repetitive, and with how it was, I feel like there were a lot of different spice scenes. So it has a variety of what you're looking for. The downside for me was that I really feel like this book, and I'm not going to read the rest because this gave me the vibe of how this is going to go for the rest of the books. It gave me the vibe of like, this is a book to read if you're only looking for sex. Like, there was really no storyline, there was no drama, there was no, 3/4 of the way through there's a problem, and they have to find a solution, right? It just felt bland in the plot, and to have such a strong spice which I'm telling you, there was smut probably every other chapter in a different way. It revolves around one girl, three guys, totally fine. I've read poly ones before. And then I didn't really like the portrayal of bisexuality and polyamory a little bit in this book. That didn't really explain polyamory well. The one character is openly bisexual, but she starts off as describing him as gay, so you're like, okay, then he's not one of the characters. But then they switch the tune and say he's bisexual, and you're like, okay, well, I thought he was gay. Whatever. So then you have his best friend who was originally involved, and he says he's openly straight this whole time, and it kind of just was weird because it felt like the friend who was bisexual, because he was in love with him, right, kind of turned him bisexual as well. It kind of just seemed really gross. I didn't like that it was like, oh, well, my best friend turned me not straight, so it's like, oh, that's okay. And it's just a very confusing form of sexuality for all of them. The polyamory part was super unrealistic. There was communication, but also no communication. Like, the only communication was like, oh, are you in this with us? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, cool, then you're in it with us. And it's like, there's a lot more to it than that, and it just felt really unrealistic in that way. I just felt like this book was not for me. The smut scenes were so not repetitive, but there were so many smut scenes that by like page 400, I stopped reading them, which is crazy. Every time I would see a smut scene come up, I would just skip it. I would just skip right past each page until I could skim it and see that it's pretty much done. I was so desensitized to it. It just felt so, like, I've read this before, like, I didn't get my heart beating fast. It didn't get me hot and bothered. It didn't get me, like, excited. Nothing. It just was like, oh, okay, like, this is where we're at. And I just don't think I'm a fan of Why Choose. Someone else out there is. A lot of people are. That's fine. It's just not for me. It's not my dream, but it's someone else's dream. But I won't be continuing the series. I can't even say if I recommend it or not, because I didn't like it. But if you want Why Choose, then maybe. But if you don't like an overabundance of smut, then maybe not. So it's really just one of those ones you have to pick up and try, because I just didn't like it, and that's fine. But I will just be making sure in the future that if it's a Why Choose, I'm not going to pick it up, because it's just going to give me the same result. So the next one I read was A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle Jensen. I loved the first one, right? And I gave it a 5 out of 5, and I gave this one a 5 out of 5. I love this series. I gave it a 1 out of 5 on the spice meter, because there's like 1 or 2 maybe small points. But again, this is very much just like a fantasy, but it's a fantasy more than it is a romance. It has the romance in it as a subplot. So the spice, if I didn't have any, I would still give it a 5 out of 5. But this is the perfect duology. I feel like if you're not sure how to get into the fantasy world and you're looking more like historical, I feel like this would be perfect for you. The Vikings, the gods, and lore magic just deepen in this book compared to the first one, while giving twists and turns that I really didn't see coming until the very end. And I was still like, oh my god, what the hell just happened? And I love books like that. I feel like I'm so, again, desensitized to books that I'm like, okay, I saw that coming, like, okay, that didn't surprise me. But this really did. Like, I had moments where I was like, oh wow, this is what we're doing right now. Okay, crazy. I also feel like this ended really perfectly. I feel like she wrapped up everything that needed to be wrapped up. There was really no plot left behind. And it gave you a satisfying ending. It didn't give you the classic, oh, I got pregnant and then I couldn't do anything. Like, it gave you the ending that was very satisfying, and it showed like who their characters were. That just made it, again, satisfying. That you were done and you were like, that was a really good book. And Freya, the main character, another badass woman. She could not be tamed. The author wrote her so perfectly that it rivals Bryce and Nesta for me, because she is just that woman that is like, I'm not taking no shit and I'm gonna do what I want. and I'm going to save the people I want. And I have morals, and I'm sticking to those morals. And I'm so glad she didn't dumb her down with the plot for plot's sake and for the man's sake. Because a lot of people do that and kind of just like take her powers away, blah, blah, blah. Like, nope, she got the ending that she wanted, and that was it. And I just feel like it was just a really good series. It's also just beautifully written. It's not like written in a way it's like bringing slang from our 21st century type thing. Like, she uses words that were in Viking history and language that make sense. But yeah, I would recommend this series. Again, if you're a first-time fantasy reader, not sure how to get in, these are not too big, and look how pretty. But if you're a first-time fantasy reader, don't know where to get into it, I would recommend this one. It was fun, engaging, not hard to read, not too long, not too short, and it keeps you engaged. Next up was Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahurin. I know I screwed that up last time. But this was the last series in Serpent and Dove, and I gave this a 4.5 out of 5, and 1 for spice. I'm not going to repeat myself, it's the same as the other books for spice. But I did not want this series to end. It was crafted so well, and I feel like she took notes from Sarah J. Maas, which is totally okay, because she just wrote it so romantically and so engaging that even just like in the smaller points of what their plot revolved around, you were like engaged. You were like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And she definitely took notes by doing like cliffhanger chapters to where you just have to keep going. You can't just stop. If you have a Massiverse itch, this definitely cures it, because again, it just is so engaging that you just can't stop. And it's the same thing that Sarah J. Maas does, really. I cried so many times in this book. There was just certain scenes that, like, talking to, like, loved ones that are passed on and stuff like that, that really get me good. And so I was definitely crying, doing the whole, like, going like this, like, trying not to cry. And the epilogue is the same way. That killed me. It was on par with the epilogue of Sunrise and Reaping. It wasn't to that extent where I was full-on sobbing, but this one was like, there were tears coming out because it was so sad for me. I am really happy that it ended the way that it did, because I like plot twists and stuff like that, but again, it didn't dumb anything down. It made it satisfying. It kind of gave you what you want, which is good in a book. I really feel like there's a lot of times that the author writes it the way they want to write with that, and that's fine. But and then you're not really left satisfied. You're like, oh, okay, that ended, they wrote it, whatever. But this, like, she wrote it, I feel like, how she expected to end it, and it matched up perfectly. I'm only taking off 0.5 point on the 4.5 rating, just because I feel like there were some spots that we could have gotten other people's perspectives. So we got Ansel's perspective sometimes, we got Lou's a lot, and we obviously got Reed's a lot because it's about them. But I feel like there were other perspectives or just additional information that I would have liked, like about the werewolf tribe, the daughter and son, like they were lost in the second book. So, but then you thought that they died, and then there's probably like a little over halfway through, you find out that they come back, and that they were at the Chateau LeBlanc the whole time. And they were tortured with the other circus member that spoke, like he was the one that could speak. I really would have liked to know how that went, because that reminds me a lot of like the progression from Empire of Storms to Kingdom of Ash. Like, you're stuck in that Tower of Dawn wondering like, oh my god, what's happening to Aelin? And then you get to learn what's happening to Aelin in Kingdom of Ash. And I feel like in this, like, at least just some extra information to be like, oh, this is what they went through, this is the kind of torture that happened, like, this is how we got through it, like, would have been great, because the only thing we learned was, like, the circus guy, even though he was being tortured too, he was helping the children get through it. That's it. Like, there wasn't any further explanation. So it's just little stuff like that I would have liked a little clarification on, more information. But again, this series altogether was so amazing. It scratched the itch for that different kind of fantasy. This is more supernatural because it's about like witches and werewolves and vampires and mermaids come in, and it's just a whole big world that she created that I think she did a really great job on it. was great, and I would recommend it to anybody, even though it is kind of YA. I had a blast reading it. So the last one I read, which was like literally the last 2 days in August, was Scythe and Sparrow by Bryn Weaver. I gave this one a 5 out of 5, and I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 on Spice. So I had to hurry up and read this because I am going to her book event at the end of the month to probably meet her or something and like get her new book, The Taurus Season, I think it's called. I don't know much about it because I like to be a little surprised. I really love this one. I love Butcher and Blackbird. That was so unique to me that I ate that shit up and I could not stop. I didn't like the second one, Leather and Lark, that much. It just felt too slow for me. It felt a little too tame, and I didn't care for the brother Lachlan. I thought, I like Grumpy Sunshine, but he was just a little too, I don't know. I just didn't like that one. But this, I loved. I love Rose's character. Fionn is just such a cute man. He's just doing whatever, following this crazy girl that he likes. And the relationship is just so good. He's a doctor that has, a dark past, and he has dark brothers, of course. And she also has a dark past, but she's so funny that she overcomes it. And I feel like she brings the humor to their relationship to where he's like, okay, not everything is so seriously. And I feel like she helps him in the way that he's like, I don't have to be in this mental space that I hate everything and I'm just kind of doing my thing and I'm sad all the time. She helps him in that regard. And I like how this book wrapped up the series. Obviously they're all interconnected. You have to read them all. But I like that the other brothers were so involved, and it takes place in the same period of time as Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark. And once the end of Leather and Lark kind of happens, this keeps going, so it has its own story that keeps going. But I like that, because it's oh, I remember that, or oh, that's cool that this got revealed, that I didn't know about in the first 2 books. And there were such cute moments, handwritten love letters get me really good and get me choked up, and it was just really romantic. It was sweet, and Rose just made the relationship so good. She's just this funny girlfriend that just likes to have fun and tease her boyfriend kind of thing. And she introduced my new favorite character companion, Barbara the Cocaine Raccoon. That part was so funny that I was trying not to laugh out loud. Because you have Onyx from Quicksilver, you have all these other companions, you have Shrinks from Crescent City, but Barbara the Cocaine Raccoon that just breaks into his doctor's office every now and then. He has to catch her every time because he doesn't know how she's coming in. And then they catch her together, and then she brings her to the circus and she works with the poodles. It's just so funny. I don't know how she comes up with that, but it was just really hilarious. And I was like, oh my god, that would be so funny and relate. This is how Rose is. She just doesn't care. And I really love the ending because, again, it didn't dumb anything down. It was kind of a very satisfying ending, and I really like the epilogue. It kept me really intrigued because, spoiler alert, it was about Autumn, the girl that Sloane and Butcher and Blackbird saves when they were going to kill that Leatherface fucking dude from Texas that steps on her face and gives her the boot print. She was in the cellar with her and saved her and gave her the shirt off her back. And that was her. She was in the woods, kind of stalking Sloane, but not really. But Sloane notices her and, gives her, a head shake, good job. And Autumn was, impressed. And she was I'm gonna create my own story and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my god, that shocked me. I was like, holy shit, and I don't think she's the female main character in the next series. That would be really cool if she was mentioned somehow, or, these are all interconnected. I'm not really sure how that's going to go, but I would love to see a book about Autumn or, a novella or something, because, justice for Autumn, man. She went through it, she came out on top, and I feel like she learned some badass shit from Sloane on how to murder people. But yes, I would 1000% recommend this series. Again, I didn't like Leather and Lark, but to each their own, but Butcher and Blackbird was so good. This one was very good that I recommend it for sure. So that's what I read in August. I am currently reading The Curse That Binds by Laura Thalassa, which is in the Bewitched series. It's kind of like a prequel. I'm almost done with that right now. I'm going to be reading The Next Crescent City with my book club, House of Sky and Breath. I'm also going to be reading, for sure, Heartsong by TJ Klune with my husband. And a definite one I'm going to finish is Mother of Death and Dawn, which is in the Children of Fallen Gods, Daughter of No Worlds series. So I'm probably going to finish that, and hoping to start the Shadow and Ember, which is the kind of prequel series to From Blood and Ash, because I totally forgot that the next Blood and Ash book came out at the end of this month. So, yeah, check back next month for my September reads, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!